And what an episode it's bound to be. The biggest double game week for this season, with 7 sides having 2 games, 1 side not even playing at all, and the rest having single game weekers. So much to go through. Let's get straight into it on the FPL Addicts podcast. Fantasy managers, welcome to yet another bumper edition. We have so much to go through. A plethora of sides having 2 games, also sides having 1 game, but to determine how much do we overlook, not just doubles, but also consider the single game weekers. But without further ado, I have got some illustrious company that has joined us today. First of all, it being Reedy, good morning. Good morning to you. I had to check my watch.
Morning, mate. Morning. Doing well. Looking forward to this episode. Obviously, we've got someone down, like I said last week, down there, I should say. I think I went that way last week. Yeah, down there to join us. I'm excited to get stuck in and, going well, mate. Obviously, not in the best, I'll say best of moods. I'm not too bothered. It's Europa League. We didn't go through last night. Yada, yada, yada. Double game week this week. Let's have a look at it.
FPL Harry, and also one that has just accomplished 100,000 YouTube subscribers just recently. The first time appearance. Welcome to the FPL Addicts podcast.
Thank you, man. First of all, thanks for having me. I'm so glad you didn't make me do that intro because I would have absolutely butchered that. For those watching, there was a discussion about who should do the intro, and I was like, what should I say? I'll write it down. And then I was like, no, that's not a good idea. And watching you do it, I'm so glad I wasn't put in that position live to do that. But I'm good, thank you. As a Chelsea fan, I don't have to watch my team in Europe, so I don't have my week ruined. And actually, I get to watch English teams get knocked out, although it's bad for our coefficient. It's nice to see Aston Villa going strong as the only team left in it. And Emi Martinez, what a man Emi Martinez is once again. But thanks for having me. What a game week to be on as well.
It certainly is. Harry, just overall, how have you found this FPL season? Do you find it probably being the most enjoyable you have engaged across, or has it been previous seasons where COVID played a part and Emmanuel Dennis triple captainers?
Yeah, it's slightly more enjoyable than Emmanuel Dennis captaincy going horribly wrong. It's different for me because in December, of course, I quit my job. So it's been a bit of a transition season. So I've had time to focus on it. So for that reason, it's probably been the most memorable season I'll probably ever have. It's been weird, right? There's been so many injuries this year, more than I think we've ever seen, which has changed FPL quite significantly this year compared to, I think, how we've seen it. I mean, I've loved it. I'm one of those people that enjoys FPL when I get points, FPL and how well I'm doing. Enjoyment of FPL and how well I'm doing go hand in hand. And I know it's not the same for everyone. But yeah, I'm having a good season, so I've quite enjoyed it. And, I get to watch a lot of football. So what can't you like?
As always, the community plays a big role for every episode we have. We've got to say hello to a few people who have joined in early. Thank you very much. Gary, as always, a regular listener and consumer of the pod. Thank you. Miriam, to you, hello. And Harry, someone's here for you, especially it being Varon. It seems to be some love Legends. From India. It's just a plethora of different time zones at the minute. Mira as well from Sydney. Thank you very much for tuning in as always. James raised a really good point. Too many injuries this season. Great shout, and probably our number one listener week on week, it being Colm. Bugler, before I'll go straight into your side, well, in fairness, let's just get straight into it because we've got so much to get through. But game week 33, one of those ones, some have massive swings, a lot of variance involved depending on who you captain. But Harry, this is how you went. Take it away, especially you witnessing magic on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, it was, to be honest, for my FPL game, it was pretty dull. It was pretty standard. I got 71 points, which was a small red arrow. I was quite lucky, actually. I had Ben White, who got subbed off before Arsenal conceded a goal because he got a yellow card. And then, yeah, Cole Palmer magic on Monday night as a Chelsea fan. Despite not captaining him, I had Gusto as well. What a crazy game of football that was. I'd never expected us to keep a clean sheet. Even 80 minutes in when we were 5-0 up, I was still expecting Everton to create something and score. So, yeah, nice for us to put in a performance like that. If only we could have done it a couple of times more this season. Where could Chelsea be this year? But also, where would we be without a certain Cole Palmer, who not only is, the best FPL player we've got in the game this year because of how cheap he is, and now joint highest point scorer, joint for the Golden Boot as well. But yeah, Chelsea season wouldn't be the same without him. So what a hero. What a hero he is.
Brady, it's becoming an interesting Golden Boot race all of a sudden, especially with Ollie Watkins just continue on scoring. Do you see that race going down to the wire?
Yeah, there's no reason why not. I mean, we look at form and stuff like that, and obviously Cole Palmer's just, I don't know, just levels above some of the players. I know injuries plays a big part to some of the big players that, are in the league this season, but it's just, that consistency and so on. Watkins is obviously, he's done what people didn't expect him to do. Isak is looking fantastic. There's so many players that are in consideration for this Golden Boot, so I do expect it to go down to the wire. And obviously, I can't leave out on Mr. Erling Haaland, who last season absolutely smashed it. This season, plagued by injuries. Obviously, it's a different story, but it's one of the best, probably, the most open we've had it for the Golden Boot and so on.
Harry, outside of Cole Palmer, has there been any other asset who's just surpassed your expectations just heading into this season?
In Chelsea or in the game overall?
Just in FPL in general. I should have specialised that a bit.
I think the other big one is I've owned him and I can't wait to buy him back is Anthony Gordon. Like, he just looks so good. Like, that Newcastle team have been pretty hit and miss at times this season, but he just continues to absolutely fly like in every single game. So he's going to be a big one for the run-in, I'm sure. And yeah, he should be in consideration to get on the plane to the Euros as well. He's had a great season.
We've got FPL Chai that has come in, who was once inside the top 10. I think him and you as well, Harry, have got a very good friendship going on there. Harry, we need a free hit draft, but he's not on a free hit, as you can see. So high demands for
spoiler
world. Two of us are on free hits. Two of us are not on free hits. So you could not get any more split for what it is. Reedy, I think it's time for us, as per usual, to go through the Addicts podcast league and just look at, well, in fairness, let's just go straight to the top two. No messing about. Let's go to your score. 94 points. The absolute governor once again.
Yeah, but that was hit that week, which is, nice for me, considering I've used my chips a little bit earlier on. But the goalkeeper situation, basically, we expected to get one more week out of Kelleher. Well, I thought maybe Alisson would have come back in the Europa, or maybe even for the double that we've got coming up, but it wasn't to be. And obviously, Neto didn't get any points either. So, yeah, the rest of the team, though, I'm pretty pleased with. Reguilon, double Chelsea, the captain. I don't think I've got that wrong as such. I thought Haaland was fine. I mean, albeit he was lucky with that assist. That's debatable. But I'll take the points. I'm not going to complain. And then the Newcastle one was probably the best one of the game week. I'm not going to lie. I mean, they absolutely tore Spurs apart, and Van der Ven just got put on his backside a couple of times as well. So, having those two was great, and I really enjoyed having that. And shame not to get to the 100, but I know someone who did get to that 100 points. Charles, have you?
I might certainly know as well. Woohoo! I can't believe it. It's incredible. Like, it's spot on 100.
Well done, mate. Well done.
Thank you. I think the big jammy moment with a ginormous slice of luck was that Gordon corner straight onto Fabian Schär's head, and that just went in as a goal. I think could not get any more luck than in that instance. Cole Palmer did brilliantly. I mean, Harry was there to witness it live. I was waiting for a delayed train and hogging my family data while I was watching the game. So I know where I'd rather be. The bridge, that is. Haaland getting his 10 points. Probably expected more. And Dominic Solanke just keeps on firing. Harry, how big has Solanke been in terms of a role of fantasy managers this season and his consistency.
I love Dominic Solanke in FPL. So I'm going to tell a story that most people already know. Well, some people might already know. I bang on about it anytime I talk about Solanke. But last year, when he scored, there was a week that Marcus Rashford was a doubt, and most people sold him. And I decided to keep Rashford. And then Rashford didn't feature at all. And I had Dominic Solanke off my bench for, I think, 17 points away at Spurs. And it was the greatest week of FPL I think I've ever had. So since that moment, Dominic Solanke has had a special place in my heart, and he's been even better this season. Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth feels a little bit like we talk about Chelsea without Cole Palmer, Bournemouth without Solanke this season. I mean, they're a good side, but he's massively helped them. So it'll be sad. This will be the last week I get to own him. It's a double. Let's hope for some, points to go out on. He's been a great own for a very long time, and his price will only be higher next year. But yeah, this will be the last week that a lot of us own Dominic Solanke this season. So let's hope he can have the final send-off that I think he deserves after the year he's had.
Reedy, you could even say briefly touch onto Solanke as well. Has he surprised you as we were heading into that season? I don't think many were on managers' radar.
I'd say so, yeah, because the thing about Solanke is, and Harry will know this, he was at Chelsea, obviously, early on in his career. And then he did play at Liverpool as well after that. So he's not really had the best of runs. I mean, two massive sides, obviously, and it's always going to be hard to break in and show what you're made of. The pressure's going to be on, but he's made that role, that striker role at Bournemouth his own, having a great season for them. Obviously, the penalty miss in... was it game week 29? Didn't go down well, but we can forgive him. And yeah, I think he's doing great, especially Bournemouth as well. On a whole, maybe you'd expect them to be one of the sides that are right down there, but his goals have certainly contributed to them being higher up in the league. So yeah.
Briefly onto our mini leagues that we tend to show each week. First off, into the public league, Jojo still leads, but it's 18 points, and we know how quickly small leads, I should say, escalate at this end of the season, especially managers who have chips up their sleeve. Geordie Wilson, who got 86 on that one, fair play. We'll go to the Women's League shortly. But, Harry, I've got a very interesting question for you. Who do you feel within a fantasy aspect has been the most disappointing asset or player this season? Do you feel it could be Raheem Sterling? Is it Kieran Trippier and his downfall?
Kieran Trippier surely is up there, but he has been injured and he was decent for parts of the season. There's only one man who we all owned in game week 1. We all owned him. We all owned 2 of their midfielders actually, and that is a certain Marcus Rashford. Surely has to be top. We forget about him because he's just not an option anymore. But going into game week 1, he was one of the most highly owned players in the game, and just hasn't been anywhere near it. So it has to be him. Kieran Trippier gets a shout out, but yeah, it can't be the turn that we've seen Rashford on compared to the end of last season.
Absolutely spot on there. Great take. I think for me, just very briefly, I think Raheem Sterling, but I know he was an avoided FPL challenge last week, but maybe even Nicholas Jackson too. He's getting better now, but maybe I feel he's been... Oh, Harry's got a bit of a frown on that one. Do you disagree?
I think he's got 10 goals this season. This guy's flying. He scored a hat-trick against Spurs. The guys can't be a flop. No Chelsea fan will ever tell you he's a flop if he scores a hat-trick against Spurs. He's got a special place in our hearts.
Put it into context as well. He's got the same amount of goals as Darwin Núñez, who's probably had like 3 times as many shots. Yeah. So he's actually doing all right, really.
He's got the same number of goals as Anthony Gordon as well, who we were just saying is a great prospect this season. Is absolutely flying. So, I'm a big Jackson fan, and I'm going to own him for the run-in of the season, I think.
Yeah. I think another one that I could point out, another Man United asset, unfortunately, it probably is Bruno Fernandes, just because of previous years when he's been so great to own. He's been like, a bonus points magnet. And, obviously, when he first came into the Premier League, he was hitting it off straight away. So I think because of how key he is for Man United, how poor they've been this season, him as a pick, I think maybe even people also had him at the beginning of the season. So
they did, yeah.
Yeah, he's also been a bit disappointing for me.
A couple of comments that have come in as well. Hello, gentlemen. Good luck for the upcoming game week. And great to have Harry in the house tonight. FPL SideNet, a massive as well podcast content creator in Australia. Colin's got an interesting question. This is all for you, Harry, especially you being there. Thoughts on the penalty fiasco? Were you annoyed or just disappointed?
A bit of both, sadly, because it's not the first time we've seen it happen. And I would have thought that it had been squashed the first time it did happen. The first time it happened, we didn't get any there was no media attention on it or anything like that. Especially when Cole Palmer is close to the golden boot. Like, he should just be taking everything now. And he's like by far our best player. Like, these players would be in such a rut. The team would be in such a low point if it wasn't for him. Now, I kind of get that one of them potentially picked up the ball because Cole Palmer was rolling around on the floor looking quite injured when the penalty got given. But as soon as he got up and took the ball away, like, that should have been it. It should have been. And actually, I have quite a lot of respect for Conor Gallagher because I'm a big Conor Gallagher fan, and he stepped in at the right time, as we've seen like Azpilicueta do in previous seasons as our captain, and actually just saying no. Like, he showed a lot of guts as a young captain to come in and say, nah, it's Cole Palmer, and it looks like Poch has dealt with it now. So unfortunately, these things happen. We do have a very young squad, so not that surprised. I'm just surprised quite how much of a tantrum Jackson threw after it happened, but they'll get on with it. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think the perfect way to, or example, just before you go on, Chaz, is how to conduct yourselves when a situation like that comes about, regardless of the scoreline as well. Is we got a penalty against Man United in the 2-2 recently, and based on Salah not being great over his last, his track record of penalties for Egypt and for Liverpool, McAllister took one while he was either injured or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And both times, I think McAllister's picked up the ball and then he's just give it to Salah.
It happens so much now, doesn't it? That a different player picks up the ball just so that the opposition doesn't know who's going to take it. But that's what
it should be. They should know pre-game. They do know, and I think doing it during the game, it just makes them look like idiots more than it does Cole Palmer. Because he's the man at the moment, and his record speaks for itself. Taking penalties, he's been great. So.
It's weird because after the game, Poch said, well, I've made it clear now who is the penalty taker. And I'm a little bit like, well, why is it taken to now for you to make it clear who the penalty taker is? Like, surely him scoring all the penalties he has should have made that pretty clear. Like, it shouldn't take his 9th penalty for you to decide that he's the penalty taker. When he scored the one in the 98th minute against Man City, like, it should have been that. Like, that bottle that or that sort of mentality that he showed there, we shouldn't have needed a discussion now about who's penalty taker. I thought that was pretty obvious by now, but eventually we got them.
Yep. Just the Women's League very briefly. So Jojo has also got, I can't lie, Jojo loves good slender leads across our mini leagues, leading by 11 points in this one, respectively. But we appreciate everyone that has tuned in so far. Nali, thank you very much for your comment. James as well. Go on, lads. Thank you as always. We've got nearly over 1,000, or just over 1,000 people that are tuning in right now. So thank you so much. We do appreciate it, as well as Harry for spreading the word. This is a good question from Con. Free hitting over here in Oz. Would you keep Haaland and be safe or transfer him out? Reedy, you first then, Has.
Oh, God. Well, I guess we're waiting. I don't know why we're waiting for a presser from Pep, because we'll get nothing. You know what I mean? Like, if we've learned anything this season. But, they don't play till, I know they've got obviously the FA Cup semi this weekend. So I'll imagine they'll obviously want him for that game, but they don't play Brighton until the Thursday. Also, not only that, is he really a priority to kind of sell and have to get back? Because City have obviously great fixtures, but also have a double in 37. So, I mean, I'd probably just keep him for now. I think he should be okay. Maybe it was tiredness more than it was injury for the Champions League game. But I don't know. I mean, Harry might disagree. He might be a sell. What do you think, Harry?
I think the question was someone on free hit, right? I mean, I wouldn't go near him on a free hit, partly because he's a doubt, and I don't expect we'll get anything from Pep today, particularly because when they play on a Wednesday, they never train on a Thursday. So Pep's press conference will literally just say we haven't trained again. Like, that's what he does, and that's what they do. Like, he's not lying when he says that. When they play Wednesday night, they don't train Thursday, and then he gets to the press conference and he hasn't trained, so he won't know. But he also doesn't have a double, and he's not being prolific enough at the moment to own him on a free hit. I love doubles, But if I was on a free hit this week, there's no way I wouldn't have 11 doublers. Well, I'd have 15, but 11 in my starting 11. Yeah. I wouldn't own Haaland on a free hit.
Free hit is a sell for sure. I'm also in the frame of mind of I own Haaland and I've not got a free hit, so automatically I'm like, I'm just going to keep him. But yeah,
I haven't decided what I'm going to do with him yet. I might sell him. I'm not on free hit, and I haven't decided. I might sell him. My plan was really to keep him, but we'll see what happens in the presser today.
Yeah, have you got maybe will be a Nicholas Jackson, or is it too soon for that?
We've got Arsenal away. Come
on, Larry, you were bigging him up before you.
Yeah, I'll buy him for the doubles, but I think bringing him Arsenal away when I could buy a nice striker with a double. I might have him for 1 week.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I'm spot on with you both briefly. You just have to get him out, especially on the free hit. There's just so much value elsewhere, and as well players playing with doubles. But I also think there's probably one asset who has one game, and I think he could perform quite well, it being Aston Villa's Ollie Watkins. I just think he's got his form back even after coming off an injury and a mass sell. But it's such a hard one. You're spot on. Now, Chelsea have had 9 pens. We have actually received 12 penalties. Palmer has scored 9. Harry is spot on. There should just be a designated taker regardless.
Yeah, man. I mean, the first 3, I think Enzo missed 1. I think Sterling might have scored 1. And then I don't know who took the third. Maybe Enzo again. But yeah, I mean, the fact that we've had 12 penalties, the fact that Cole Palmer is top goal scorer, joint top goal scorer, and he didn't play the first 6 weeks of the season. Imagine if he'd have taken those 3 pens. He'd be clear. Erling Haaland would be having pictures of Cole Palmer up on his wall at this time of the season.
Haaland would come back and you just see the same haircut as Cole Palmer.
Exactly.
What's going on?
Yeah. Cole Palmer's going to go back to City and take penalties off Erling Haaland. That's what's going to happen.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Reedy, I think it's time to go over the bumper fixture installment for this week. What have we got in store? Just loading up your screen here.
Oh, mate, what have we got? I mean, we've got a lot for sure. In terms of, I know the games on Saturday don't look great, but overall, really, we've literally got a full week of football, which is amazing. Is what all you can ask for as a football fan. And obviously FPL, the doubles to mention. You've got Liverpool, you've got Arsenal, Wolves, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace. Obviously, everyone's talking about their players and so on. So I'm really looking forward to this game week, just to see how the league table pans out. Really is another one, because obviously we know there's a title race still going on. We know that there's teams down at the bottom struggling. I know Harry's frowning, going, City have got this wrapped up. I mean, deep down, Harry, I know City have got it. Just let me hope. All right. But yeah, so some great fixtures. I mean, take your pick, guys, and what are the
How'd you go
standouts?
first?
Yeah, but you know what actually I quite like about this? I know it shouldn't impact our decisions, but kickoff time impacts players that I pick and whether I want to captain someone. And normally in a double, the single game week players all play first. So you definitely don't want them because they'll disappoint you and then you have to watch the doubles for the rest of the week. But the single game weeks are all at the end because loads of them play in the FA Cup. So like if you own Haaland, despite him being a single game week, he's actually the last fixture of the week. So he might actually still give you that boost. I mean, for me, the Arsenal-Chelsea game is of course the biggest that we've got in here. It is a big game from a FPL point of view, but also just from a like Premier League footballing point of view. Arsenal, let's see how they bounce back after their week that they've had away at Wolves. Then we've got the cup final at the weekend, and then there's that game. So that's the one that stands out. My girlfriend is a Forest fan as well, so that Everton Forest game is bookmarked as a pretty massive game. Not from FPL, but Everton, Jordan Pickford owners like me, but from a Premier League standpoint, that could be a real decider of what happens at the bottom. So
big time. Before I say my fixture, we've actually got another member that has joined us in Tunisian FPL TT. Hello and welcome back. TT, how are we doing?
How are you doing, guys? Sorry, I am late. Unfortunately, FPL is not my full-time job. So I'm here now. And great to chat to you guys, as always.
All good, mate. We're just currently going through the chaos that's to come in double game week. Obviously, double game weekers. I know you're someone who's on a free hit, like as me and Harry are sandwiched in the middle here without a free hit. So I don't know. It could go one or two ways, really painful, or we might survive with these single game weekers. I'm hoping it's the latter. So yeah, mate. Anything for you this week? I mean, like in terms of fixtures that you look forward to, or in terms of players that you think are good for some of these fixtures for your free hit?
Well, I guess if you guys just been talking about the fixtures, like I think there's some actually really good single game week fixtures this week, and I don't know if you guys how far you've covered that down, but like Villa Bournemouth scares me a lot. Like Watkins, the form he's in. I know obviously they played midweek, but that was obviously a great result for them, like getting to the semi-final. So someone like Watkins is someone I'm very scared of. And likewise, I know Man United again not been on the most best of form, but a home fixture at Sheffield United, that could be something there for like a Fernandes or a Haaland. So I think there's definitely a lot of good single game week fixtures this week, and of course Newcastle, my team, in good form. So who knows? I think a lot of the free hitters, myself included, I'm going 11 doublers. So that is the danger, of course, going against the likes of Haaland and some of these other high EO players.
Interesting. I think my standout fixture, mainly because of the team sheet, and we saw a lot from what Klopp put out against Atlanta. It's a Fulham Liverpool game in terms of who starts. Now, because Darwin's rested, does that enhance his percentage of his chances of starting? Does Diaz start? Is it Diogo Jota, or does he come on as a sub? And fullbacks as well. We saw Bradley out. Does Alexander-Arnold just go straight back into the frame? Because I actually think, because Liverpool's playing a huge role, but it's just a minefield, Klopp of his own, similar to what Guardiola does to his team sheet each week. But I think it's Fulham Liverpool for me.
Yeah, I say it's a tricky one. I mean, Darwin came on last night, and so did Jota. I think he's a bit of a minefield, like in terms of which attackers to pick for Liverpool. Obviously, kind of most people are going to go Salah naturally, but he's not even been the best. There's arguments to go for two Liverpool defenders, in Trent and Robertson, and then maybe just pick Salah because he's sorted for the minutes. But yeah, I mean, that's the headache of the free hit, right? You're going to have that problem when you're trying to pick Liverpool players in general. So yeah, I don't know what you boys think. You Harry this week or no?
I've got Diaz, Salah, and I've had them for a while. And I probably will be buying a third, but I have no idea who it's going to be. And I don't think last night it taught us anything. And I think anyone who looks at it and thinks they are confident that anyone apart from like Alisson, Van Dijk, and maybe Salah are going to play both. Because I posted before this on Twitter, like my percentage chances of each of the Liverpool players, in my opinion, playing both. And the replies are so mixed from, yeah, this is right to this is horribly wrong. Like no one knows for this Liverpool game, for this Liverpool double, who it's going to be. I find it really, really difficult to call. Like, was Darwin left out last night because he's now rested for the double? Or does Klopp not trust him? How close is Jota to a start is a massive one that we just will not know the answer to. Like, because if Jota's not ready for a start, then you expect Darwin to play both. But if Jota eventually is ready for a start, then I think it's a minefield. You just have to put, a bit of pot luck on it and hope you get the right two. But the other thing to add is I don't think they look great, right? That's over 300 minutes without an open play goal for Liverpool now. So as much as I like, Darwin might be better for minutes, I'm not sure I want three attackers based off how they're playing at the moment.
Yeah,
I mean, sorry, really.
No, I was going to say it's true what Harry's kind of saying. I mean, the only thing I would say is that arguably Klopp should be playing his strongest team now. Now it's only the league to play for, so there is that case. But obviously, don't know if you guys noticed, not being Liverpool fans, Darwin had a little bit of a problem with being brought off against Palace and kind of kicked off on the bench and so on. So whether that, because sometimes he has got that little bit of a South American hot head on him, and whether Klopp's just had to say, well, listen, I'm not having you behave like that. But as I say, we are potentially in a title race still, and he should be playing his best team, which is probably Darwin, Diaz, and Salah. Yeah.
Sorry,
I don't think Jota's in that best team. That's surprising.
He is for me. He should be starting ahead of Nunes. Yeah, but yeah. Sorry, go on, Harry.
I can't remember what I was going to say now.
That's fine. I'll just go on very quickly. I think so people on free hit, there's this element that has just crept into our minds. That's overthinking and just constantly changing our drafts. But what's a positive about reading Harry just not playing this chip at all is that they'll just stick with the players they have, and they don't really have to worry about anything. They'll start their doublers regardless. However, with TT and I, it's just more which strikers do we go on with? Do we go with one single game week player involved? Do we go full on doubles, as Harry is a big enthusiast for? That's the sort of element I tend to see at the moment. But Harry, sorry, has your idea come back to frame of mind?
No, I can't remember now.
That's fair. We have got some very interesting points. Now, Mira from Sydney, she's on a free hit, but going with 2 single game week players, which I feel is quite intriguing. Com raises a really good point. Is that the thing, and Harry and Reedy pointed it out just earlier, is that with single gaming players over double game week, is that they still have 2 games with cup commitments, and it's not just in FPL, which I think is a really good point. How much does that play into the calculations, especially not knowing a lot on the Man City info? I think
it's not ideal, is it? Because say, for example, Haaland plays against Chelsea, picks up another knock or gets injured, whatever, and then you've got him there. Just basically, it's useless having him for that Brighton game if he misses it. But that's just the way the land sort of lays at the moment. Unfortunately, that there's nothing you can kind of do about that. So to then go, oh, they could get injured in these cup games, or best maybe take him out for a doubler. I don't know. It's not really optimal, I guess. Like, what can you do? So, yeah, I won't be taking out Haaland personally. I'm just going to keep him and hopefully he gets that Brighton game.
Yeah, it's why on free hit I wouldn't own any single game week players, because you just run the risk of something happening in the cup. If they played this weekend and you knew they were fit, then I'd maybe get it slightly more. But you just have the added risk that the team is going to be tired and that they could get injured in the cup. So, I mean, I personally wouldn't. And, someone like Newcastle is different, right? Because they actually have had a week and a half off. They don't play any football this weekend. And then they play a Palace team who've actually played on Sunday or Sunday. So they actually have the best fixture spacing against a team who are going to be tired. So I prefer someone like an Isak this week to someone like a Haaland because of that fixture spacing that they've got.
I think I mentioned that to you, Reedy, earlier in the week, because I think people are maybe overvaluing the Palace double. I do like it from an attacking perspective, and I do really like a Munoz or like a Henderson, because 2 home games still for Palace is nice on paper. But I think given the circumstances, like West Ham, I think is still a great fixture. Like they've again just come off a European game and now knocked out. Like clearly they look quite tired right now. But like Harry mentioned, that spacing for us is so good to the point where we're also in a really tight like battle for like 6th place, and we're going to really go for that game. So personally, I don't see that as a great fixture for Palace. Obviously, I'm biased, but yeah, are we maybe overvaluing the Palace assets a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know they come to Anfield and beat us. We had about 9 million shots and couldn't score past them, but that's another story. And Palace, all of a sudden, they're still not like this amazing team, like who can absolutely batter other teams. And sometimes a wounded beast isn't a good idea to poke them. And West Ham going out of Europe and so on. And I don't think that. I do think Palace will concede both games. That's just my opinion on it. But I can see why free hitters would go there. I mean, especially with Elise and Eze, I think that they are genuinely good picks this week.
So here's
like 3 Palace still feels like a no-brainer though on free hit. I think the attackers like Eze feels like a bit of a no-brainer. I really like Mateta as well. I think he's just proven now that he's like the clear first choice. And especially his home form, I think, has been really good this season. Elise's the one that's super interesting because he's obviously just come back. He's like when that front 3 plays together, I think they're very lethal. Like they do offer a different dimension. Like when Elise's also in that team, he could be a really good pick. It's just again the minutes. How comfortable do we think he plays both?
I mean, I'd probably say he plays 65 in both would be my prediction. But I don't think he's better than Eze, and I don't think he's better than Mateta.
Agreed.
So in that situation, unless you're going triple attack, I don't think there's space for him. or you want to go differential and then you go Elise over Eze. But I just find Elise. I mean, this is the boring, safe manager in me talking, right? And I will always avoid a player like Elise over, I'd rather go with someone like Eze, but I'm just not sure you can pick him at the moment. And he, if he starts one and doesn't start the other, you wouldn't be surprised either. Like, I expect him to start both, but if he played one and not the other, I don't think anyone could complain that that's the situation it was.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point. It is like, I think I said to you, didn't I? Actually, it was this morning, wasn't it? TT, I said, I don't really love 3 Palace, 3 Arsenal, 3 Liverpool. I mean, Harry's just given his point on Palace. We know Liverpool don't look great at the minute. Arsenal have just been knocked out of Europe. We're picking teams where there's going to be rotation. So there's, it is really difficult. I mean, the safe thing to do is like, you just think, right, I'll pick 3 from each. Don't overthink it. Chaz alluded before, it's easy to kind of like go through so many different players. But I do think there is an argument for potentially going one Newcastle player. I like that point about them having that spacing and so on, and Palace coming on the back of playing that game against West Ham on the Sunday. So, yeah, interesting. We haven't mentioned any other teams for that matter. Like, Wolves have a double, Bournemouth have a double. Everton have a double. I think you said you've got Pickford, right, Harry?
Yeah.
You just expecting save points, I guess, from that?
I mean, I brought him a few weeks ago when Areola got injured and my other keeper was Kaminsky of Luton, so I had to buy a keeper. Yeah. And I bought him against the Burnley fixture, so he got me 8 then, and I'm just he'll just be there. A bold prediction for this week is that no team with a double keeps a clean sheet. I think we'll get 1 or 2, and I think all of them will just lose all their clean sheets. So I'm not massively worried about my defenders this week. It will be what it will be. But yeah, like, he's got Forest at home, Liverpool at home. Let's hope for some saves or something crazy. But I don't expect much from him. I definitely wouldn't be owning him.
What did you gauge from that Chelsea game, Harry? Like, did you think Everton were that bad? Or did you think Chelsea was just on and just having a good day?
Cole Palmer was having a good day and on another level. Yeah. And it was the day that like it all clicked into place for like Nicholas Jackson. Like, he has some good performances and he has some bad performances. And this just happened to be a day he had a good one. And I also think Everton were that bad. They really struggled, and teams rarely struggle to create chances against us. They really do. It happens every week. Like, there's always a passage of play where we're awful and a team creates chances against us and they just didn't have it.
I mean, I guess we're not looking at Everton attackers necessarily. We're kind of, if we're going for an Everton player, we're probably looking more at, if you've got a Brantwaite, see what his injury situation is, or the Pickford pick for the goalkeeper. And generally, like, their defensive data has been very good this season. Like, they've been up there with some of the best. But that game, I think, is probably throwing a spanner in the works to people's thoughts about them.
Yeah.
Speak of Newcastle, just back onto the topic about potential sides owning in a single game week. They play a big factor, especially in the transfer traffic for this week. Either the top 5 transfers out and your top 5 transfers in. I'll go across the panel, starting off with TT, then Harry, then Brady. Are there any surprises in these trends?
I mean, Gordon, unbelievable. Like, he's just absolutely on one. And that's largely driven by the home form. But I think that's pretty consistent with just how well he's played this season. Like, his minutes, his fitness, like, he's just been the driving force since he's been playing this season. So I'm not surprised now, given the recent kind of performances, that he's up there as the top pick this week. Eze as well. I think, like we mentioned, set pieces, penalties, 2 home games for Palace. I think on paper, that feels like a bit of a no-brainer pick. So I'm not surprised people are going there either. Cunha's actually super interesting. I really like him. I like him a lot. I think he offers something different to that Wolves attack. And I think now he's found a bit of form. He struggled when he started, but him and Hwang, like, together when they combined, like, look super good. And he only just came back from injury last week and he's bagged 2 goals. So yeah, if Wolves didn't have that Arsenal game, I would look at Cunha a lot more. But yeah, it's just that Arsenal game that's doing it for me. I wouldn't pick him. I don't know what you guys think about him.
Harry.
Yeah, it's just the Arsenal game, right? That does put me off a lot for it, because how many goals do you expect Wolves to score against the Arsenal side? Like probably one max. So is he a better pick than someone like Watkins, who effectively has the same fixture, right? Watkins has Bournemouth at home. I mean, I would pick Cunha over Watkins because I would just go with the double, but the Arsenal fixture does put me off. The other thing is, it's a weird thing to say, but if he hadn't have scored a worldie at the weekend, would everyone be buying him? Like, if he'd have come off that Forest game with one goal, fine. If he hadn't have, scored a worldie, which he's probably not going to get the opportunity to do against an Arsenal side, like, would everyone be buying him? I find the three forwards, actually, I think most people on free hit will go 3-5-2. I find the forwards to pick easier, but not actually sure which two of the three I would start. So it's probably Cunha, Solanke, Mateta for me. And I don't know which of those three I wouldn't play. So it kind of is Cunha versus Mateta for a lot of people. And I'd probably play the fixtures with Mateta over Cunha. Just that Arsenal fixture is just enough to put me off.
And then you've also got Darwin, you could throw into the mix for that as well. So, yeah,
you do.
Yeah, you're just going to know that basically he's going to have taken a lot of shots and not got your points. Whether that sits well with you on a free hit, I don't know. And also, there's that risk of rotation, like in terms of his minutes and so on. Whereas you'd expect Mateta and Cunha to probably play quite a lot of minutes in both fixtures, unless there's an injury or something. So, yeah, Solanke seems like, I guess, then the most nailed if you're going to go for them three, right?
Yeah, I mean, Solanke has to be in there.
Yes.
I know people have been talking about injuries for Bournemouth. Do we think that's going to impact Solanke's output to an extent? I haven't really considered it a lot, to be honest, because I trust a lot in Solanke's ability, and again, penalties is such a big factor.
Yeah,
but is that something people are thinking about, do we think?
I think it does affect his output to an extent. I think there's probably been both wingers at some stage that have been injured, which has given him a lack of service, especially Solanke was injured as well at one stage, especially him being away at Burnley. Then Semenyo came in, helped out, and now he's injured. I think a service input may be an effect, but it still wouldn't surprise me of Dominic Solanke still finding a way. He's just been that clinical, and he's got the confidence about him too, because I felt in previous years at previous clubs, he didn't really have that. But now he's got a good, trusted manager where he's able to thrive and showcase what he's about.
Yeah, fair point. I mean, I think Bournemouth are fine at the minute. I know, obviously they've got a couple of injuries and so on, but I think generally, if you obviously look at the fixture for this week, or fixtures, I should say, permission denied apparently on my screen.
Oh, that's happened before, hasn't it, on this pod? About 3 times. Oh.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the fixtures are good enough and stuff. I don't see it being that much of an issue, right? Going for picking Solanke for this week. So yeah. But transfers out. I know obviously there's been quite a few of those, mainly Heung-min Son as Spurs this week. Anyone who's not on a free hit, like I've kind of found, is, do I just bench him and not bother having to take him out to bring him back in next week? Almost feels a bit stupid to do it, but a lot of people obviously are taking him out this week. And then Bowen, who I think picked up a knock or something, is he currently still injured? Yeah, I mean, what do we think about the transfers out generally? Do you think they make sense?
So I'll be very brief on this. I think Bradley's certainly surged up because of how long he's out for. I think all of them make sense, to be fair, especially with Son. But if you're wildcarding next week, I think it's a lot easier to get rid of him. It's similar to Phil Foden of last week too, because you know that there's a chance where you could get him back. But if you don't have any chips, for example, then it makes it quite a difficult conundrum. In addition, what I've noticed just quickly on the transfers in, there was a whole lot of love early in the week for Luis Diaz, but I think it was second most transferred in 48 hours ago, plummeted to 5th, and the person that's taken his place is Eberechi Eze. But he's still on low ownership, despite a lot to love for him, especially for those on free hit. So I find that intriguing personally.
Yeah, I think the things that I'm sort of not surprised, but Odegaard, Havertz, these are sort of players that people are going to bring in on free hit. But I think the players people are taking out people are probably just thinking it's a double game week. I don't care. Like, you know, I'm just going to go and get doublers, even if I have to take them out later on. But yeah, that's it pretty much on players in and out.
Brady, you wanted to go quickly over Bournemouth fixtures the rest of the season, is that right?
Not the rest of the season necessarily, but obviously the double this week that they've got Villa and Wolves, 2 tricky fixtures, but also 2 fixtures that they're capable of scoring in. I think they're not too bad. If you're going to go with Solanke, that's fine, but picking anyone else really. I mean, I've got Kirkes and Neto who I'm playing this week. Do I like it? No, but that's just the situation. Hopefully they just, I don't know, save points from Neto, maybe gets a pen save or something, and Kirkes possibly gets an assist. I'm not hoping for much, to be honest.
That's fair. We'll move on to what we've learned during the week. Now, more importantly, it's been just English sides crashing out of European competitions one by one. Arsenal and Man City both got knocked out in the Champions League during the week. Arsenal losing 1-0, 3-2 on aggregate away at Bayern Munich. City out on what was an epic penalty shootout against Real Madrid. West Ham are out of Europa League as well, having lost against Leverkusen, as well as Liverpool. They are out too, despite getting a 1-0 win. Now, I do remember before we went on that I was going through the rundown, and Harry, labelled out. I accidentally said Liverpool went through, but they did not. Their wheels have fallen off. I want to emphasise that. But there's one side that have saved today, and that is in the Conference League. It's hi-ho, Aston Villa, you know the rest, especially if you're a Villa fan. They are through to the semi-finals of the Conference League, having defeated Lille, I think that's how you pronounce it, in a penalty shootout. FA Cup announcement with the replays being scrapped. Now, this has been a very intriguing point, especially with a lot of people talking about chip strategies for next season already. Harry's quite passionate on the topic. I mean, after whatever he said, I'll go straight to TT. Has to take on this?
Yeah, I mean, I need to answer it from a FPL point of view and then a general football pyramid point of view. So from an FPL point of view, it will sadly likely make FPL a little bit more simple next year, because effectively what it does is that big blank that we had in game week 29, it removes that, because that will be its own separate weekend next year. So that's basically what it does simply, is we'll have one big less blank, so one big less double effectively next season, which is fine. It does mean that we'll have less doubles to play the chip. So things like a bench boost game week 1, I've seen lots of people talking about, might be popular. So yeah, it's interesting for FPL. It actually makes the doubles and blanks less impactful than maybe they have been. Of course, there's the impact on the general football pyramid. The Premier League, as a result of that statement, said they will, I think it's to grassroots football, which I think is then non-league. So it doesn't include like the EFL. There's an extra 33 million being invested. But of course, like those FA Cup replays are massive for some of those clubs, particularly if you get a big team. So I'm not going to sit here and claim that I know all the ins and outs of it, but I know that those teams with, less fixture congestion than maybe the Premier League ones do are not best pleased that they've taken it away, because they feel it's very much focused on the top 6 teams, particularly those in Europe, not having as many free midweeks as they had before. From an FPL point of view, I don't think it's great, because I think it makes less doubles, which I think is less exciting, right? So yeah, I mean, it's interesting change. It was going to come. The Premier League teams with the Champions League just getting bigger, they just didn't have the time to play it. They just don't have the fixture, the free midweeks that they would need to play replays next year. So we'll see what happens with it. We'll see where the game weeks go, but it will change FPL reasonably next year.
Tito?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't thought about it too much, but obviously, like, chip strategy is such a big part of the game. So obviously, it's quite sad. Like, if we're losing some of the doubles, like we're losing that kind of element that everyone gets excited for, like the planning and the kind of that sort of aspect is what a lot of us really enjoy, I think, in that game. So maybe this is an opportunity for the Premier League to kind of revamp the chips. And, we've had quite a lot of the similar chips for quite a long time now. So is there scope for them to do something else? Hopefully this might be the trigger for that, if they know that this is now going to affect probably the double game weeks and the blanks going forward. But otherwise, I'm just very happy. Like, I love the FA Cup. I think it's always been one of those tournaments, like especially in English football, that everyone looks forward to. So if we're bringing a bit more magic of the FA Cup back from a pure footballing perspective, like, I'm all for that.
Do you think that change of format brings back the magic of the FA Cup more though? Do you not think?
I mean, it's fair because the replays is what
the replays is like
yeah,
part of the magic, no?
Get excited for that, but at the same time, like, it's just a bit of a pain, isn't it, having to play 2 games?
Well, this is the view of Premier League fans. This is
it's true.
This is the issue, right? But yeah, from a Premier League fan point of view, I'm glad my team doesn't have to play replays. But from when you support a team that's not in the Premier League and you get a replay and you get Man City or Man United or Liverpool coming to your stadium, or you drew with them away, etc., then you can understand why that's quite important to them.
Yeah, I think what happened recently is now that they're playing like FA Cup games like midweek sometimes. So if they're now dedicating weekends separate to the actual Premier League games, I guess that's a good standpoint, like from viewership, from fan perspective, like going to the actual games, like that's never a bad thing.
What I don't understand with that is, does that mean that is the season going to be longer? Because we had 2 weeks worth of midweek rounds of FA Cup this season. So is the season going to be 2 weeks longer, or are we going to have more midweek rounds of Premier League as a result? Are they just swapping them around? I guess we don't know until next year, but I wonder what it does to the schedule of the Premier League, because if it just makes the season longer, as much as I love the FA Cup rounds of fixtures, it's then just more weeks we've just got to wait for Premier League, right? But I don't know what it will do. I don't know how they'll schedule it in.
Reedy, do you have much of a say on this?
Yeah, I kind of agree with the boys. I mean, for me personally, like, I think the amount of, I guess, fun, I would say, like, we know that the League Cup over the years, people haven't taken it seriously, kind of put it at the bottom of the pile in terms of trophies and achievements and so on. But it is a trophy, but that doesn't have that same magic like the FA Cup. The FA Cup's got the history. It just, as a kid, even as a football fan, when you're growing up and you see those games and you see some of the kids that get to go to those games from the lower league clubs, because they can afford a ticket and so on, and they can see their club play. So it is a shame. And the likes of Coventry, who have got to a semi-final this year, I mean, they had a replay against Sheffield Wednesday, I think, and managed to go through. So they maybe wouldn't be where they are now if it wasn't for that. So it is definitely going to put pressure on those teams outside of the Premier League to try and kind of treat that one game as a final to try and progress and so on. So yeah, I'm not like, wow, this is amazing, because like obviously from a schedule point of view for teams that are in the Premier League, our clubs that we support, we're gonna, obviously prioritize things like Champions League and whatever else. Yeah, so mixed feeling on it at the minute. We'll see how it pans out, how it goes and stuff. But yeah, on one side, it's a shame for these lower league clubs and everything else. And on the other side, it's good because, we've seen what's happened with postponements this year, how tricky it's got with the Premier League trying to fit in, all these games and so on. It just becomes just crazy. So, yeah, we'll see.
I think it will certainly be an intriguing look, especially for Premier League and how they sort out that calendar, as Harry mentioned. I think it's time to discuss now into double game week 34. Now, the first question I've got for you lovely 3 panel members is double Arsenal defence or double Arsenal attack? We've seen a bit of a slump in form from Arsenal in the last 2 games, and they did look a little toothless away at Bayern Munich, especially we've seen Kai Havertz up front. Kai Havertz been an interesting prospect for this game week as well, having fired recently and still relatively low ownership, around roughly 10%. First to you, TT, then Harry and Reedy. Is it double attack or double defence? Where does it lie?
Chaz, I'm just as confused, mate. I've been going back and forth. So I've been on Havertz like all week. I don't know if I'm as confident about his minutes, given he just played 90 midweek. For me, it comes down to, do we think he's going to play through the middle? But if he's playing as the number 9, I really like him as a pick. I think he'll be just involved in the big chances, and he's been getting a lot of big chances recently. The double defence is interesting because those on non-free hit will likely be there already. So on free hit, if you want to differentiate yourself a little bit, there's always that option there. But now they're out of the Champions League, and obviously Arsenal are just going to be going for it in the league, I can just see them just keeping clean sheets for fun. It's what Arsenal's bread and butter are. They've been by far the best defence by a mile this season. So the temptation is there. I'm to be honest with you, I'm really not sure. I've been kind of going back and forth in my head. But personally, just because I'm on the free hit, I do want to go for the Havertz pick. Like you said, Charles, like low ownership. If I'm banking on him playing through the middle at least one of the games, then I think the punt is worth taking. But I'm interested to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, I mean, grass is always greener, right? I have double defense at the moment. If I was on free hit, I'd almost definitely go double attack. I also just think that those two fixtures are not actually as good for clean sheets as maybe we thought they would be. Like away at Wolves have had a week off to prepare for this. They are scoring goals. They've got quite a few players back from injury. And then as much as, Chelsea are mixed at the moment, we are scoring goals. So I would almost certainly be on double attack. And the other thing is partly because I wouldn't trip. I think you need two defenders from Arsenal and Liverpool combined. And because I'm not sold on the triple Liverpool attack anymore, that means I would likely go Van Dijk, which means I don't think you need a double up on the Arsenal defense. So if you go, I think that's probably the best way to put it. I would have two defenders from Arsenal and Liverpool combined, whether you go double Arsenal defense and no Liverpool, but not many people are doing that anymore. So I'd probably go Saka Havertz if I was on a free hit now.
Ready?
Oh, it's a conundrum, isn't it? I mean, I've got 2 frees this week. I'm like, do I go Liverpool attacker? Do I go Arsenal attacker? Or do things like taking Son out? I've got Carlton Morris at the minute, which is pretty pathetic, isn't it, boys? that I've got him at this point. Like, do I just take him out from Mateta or Cunha and then just roll the other transfer? I am honestly, considering I'm not on a free hit, so like confused on what to do, because it's almost like I take that gamble for a doubler, it doesn't pay off, and then I need to take him out later on, to get someone for 37 and so on, because I'll have like 2 Chelsea, 2 Spurs as it stands for next week. Not having free hit or a wild card isn't ideal. And I guess I have to just probably leave that decision as late as possible at the moment. So it may be Havertz. I don't really like Diaz at the minute. I've got Salah already. I've got Saka already. So, yeah. Don't really know yet, mate. I can't give you a definitive answer, which isn't ideal. But, yeah, we're here.
That's fair. I've been on double attack all week. It's only because for these double game weeks in the form they're in, it's got to be incredibly cautious in terms of putting too many eggs in one basket for a certain side trying to keep shutouts. If, for example, Arsenal had a double in January, 100%, you might even go triple defence because they love their away days away at Burnley and West Ham, but that felt a lifetime ago, let's face it. So I've been double Arsenal attack pretty much all week, and Kai Havertz been included. I think he may be a game changer in this game week. But as always, we shall see. You guys briefly touched on Liverpool in terms of, is it best to go for 2 or 3? Is it worth going outside of Salah and Virgil van Dijk? Is that worth a risk for them having 2 games in terms of play it and to invest?
The defense is so tough to call. I think, of course, Salah feels like a no-brainer, right? And I would own 3 Liverpool this week if you're on free hit, and I'm not on free hit, and I will most likely own 3. I find the other 2 difficult. Van Dijk feels the safe pick, that you know what you're going to get. You know you're pretty much almost certainly going to get 2 starts out of him. Robertson is slightly more explosive than Van Dijk, but slightly less secure for minutes. Trent is even more explosive and even less secure for minutes. So it depends a little bit what your risk appetite is there and how likely you feel Trent is to play both in the double. I'm pretty unsure that he'll play both. I think he won't, but some people think that he will. And if you think he will, then he's worth the punt. And then I think it's one of Luis Diaz or Darwin. And Darwin not starting last night. Again, you can write the narrative how you want on that. Is he not trusted? Is he rested now? I find it so difficult to call. And as a result, if I was on free hit, I'd go Luis Diaz, Salah, Van Dijk. who I naturally think are the three most nailed Liverpool players at the moment. And I wouldn't worry too much about the rotation that you've got there. I'd pick the three that I think are generally the most nailed. But I just find the Darwin and Trent situation too difficult to call that I just wouldn't touch it if I had the choice.
Tito?
Yeah, I think like Harry said, we're at this, and you touched on it as well, Chaz, like we're at the overthinking stage of the free hit and just transfers in general, that like 3 Liverpool should just not even be a question. I think regardless of the minutes, like these players are good enough, and Liverpool really have to go for it. Like Reedy touched on earlier, like you'd hope Klopp will go for his best team. Whether that means the minutes are restricted, obviously we need to factor that in a little bit, because we might be looking at 60, 70 minutes for most of the attackers. For me, Jota is the one that I really wanted to punt on this week. And I don't know what I was looking for from the lineup yesterday, but I think if anything, I wanted him to maybe start just to prove he could start. The fact he hasn't started has now put me off him. So I think, like Harry said, like I think Diaz is probably the more safer attacker. I think if you're looking outside Salah, and yeah, Trent again, it's the one where you know that the non-free hitters are very unlikely to go for, and then depending on your risk appetite, like how much do you want to go there. But personally, I don't really see a clean in either of these games. I think Fulham are very good at home. I'm fairly confident they'll probably score in that game. The Everton game is the one I'm really not sure on, because Everton attack is so bad. But again, it's a Merseyside derby. It's a huge game for them at home. Like anything could happen in that. So yeah, double defense again doesn't give me any comfort either. So if I did, like currently, I think I'm on Salah, Diaz, Robertson. But that could very easily be Van Dijk. Darwin, I will think about again. Alisson is always there as well. So
that's a good shout, actually. Yeah, Alisson having returned.
If you really want the safety, could just go Alisson, Van Dijk, Salah.
Yeah, I think if I was on the free hit, I'd definitely be looking more attacking than defence. I do think there's a chance, based on Arsenal's Premier League form, of them keeping 2 clean sheets. I know they play Chelsea, and obviously Palmer's great at the minute, but Arsenal at home is a little bit different compared to them having to go to Stamford Bridge. So I don't know if you were unsure about maybe a Havertz, you just go with Saka and then you go with like 2 Arsenal defenders. But I would be looking at like Liverpool. It has to be Salah and Diaz, as you boys said. I think generally, I'd be looking at from that point of view. I just think we are really bad defensively, and if you're going to pick anyone to get you points from a Liverpool defender, it's going to be Robertson or possibly Trent. I know we don't like it because of his minutes. He did come off because his minutes were being managed last night, so we don't know how far he is in terms of being able to play a full 90. But I just think defensively, we do not look great in the minute. I'm not going to lie. So I do think we'll concede against Fulham. Everton possibly get a clean sheet in that game. But, yeah.
The quotes from Klopp on, or from Trent himself after last night, I don't think are good. So what Trent said, I think I just ran out of juice in the second half. And then Klopp said, if Trent had been a bit fitter, we could have gone a bit longer, but it's insane that he was even played. In the end, he was running out of gas. And you think the other thing with Liverpool is you can't just look at the double in itself. You've got to look at Thursday night, how many minutes they played, but they're also the 12:30 kickoff in game week 35 as well. So he can't just run all his players into the ground in game week 34, because they've got to play at 12:30 on Saturday morning away at West Ham as well. Like, you've got to take that game into account as much as the double. You might not own them for 35, but Klopp's got to put a team out away at West Ham as well. So he can't just play Trent Robertson for every game between now and the end of the season. He can't just play Darwin in every game, because he's got to think of the upcoming matches as well. Yeah. I can't see Trent playing both. The other thing is, I know, like Reedy, you said it's the only competition you've got left now, but that doesn't mean he just completely forgets about the fitness and well-being of his players. Like, it was a week ago that he said that Trent was nowhere near getting on the pitch despite being on the bench against Atalanta. A week ago he's starting, and now what? A week a week later, he's ready to start 3 games in the space of like 6 days. So I can't see it. I think Robertson is also a little bit at risk, but because of that West Ham game as well, I don't see Trent starting all of these 4, right? I don't think he starts Atalanta, Fulham, Everton, West Ham. And so it makes sense for him to miss one of the 2 in the middle, which is the 2 that are part of the double.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. The only thing that I'm not even worried about as such, but like Klopp is naturally stubborn. He is a stubborn manager, right? And the game this season when I think he played Trent against Burnley or someone, he might have even brought him on against Chelsea at Anfield for a bit. And it's just like he wasn't ready yet to come back, and he's kind of played him. How much pressure is on Klopp to kind of field his best players as much as he physically can, or as they physically can as such? But from an FPL point of view, I'd agree a lot more. I would say that it is a risk, 100%, million percent. It is a risk. You can just avoid picking him and you can just go for a Robertson or a Van Dijk if you do want that peace of mind. If you do want to take that risk and you think Klopp is going to be stubborn, you might get lucky and get rewarded from it, but it is going to be touch and go. Yeah.
I think for my sake, I'm only going to go 2 Liverpool. As much as I'll see the upside in third, I just can't be bothered with the minefield there is. It's going to be 2, and that's going to be Salah, and that's going to be Virgil van Dijk. In terms of other assets and those that don't have 2 games, single game week players, and we've seen previous seasons, there is always opportunity for players to have 1 game and just find a way to outscore those that might flop in 2 games. And from each of you, either one particular asset or even 2 that may just really surprise managers out of nowhere. I'll just go with you, TT, then Haz, and Reedy. Personally, for me, I think it could be Ollie Watkins, having scored 11 away at Bournemouth. However, I do take into account Villa played 120 minutes on Thursday night. See him starting, but they could be gassed come after an hour. And it probably is a good game for Dominic Solanke. I think he can take full advantage. But I think if there's one single gaming candidate for me, it's Watkins, TT.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Chaz. I think Watkins is the one that scares me the most this week out of all the players. If there was a different Villa attacker, maybe would you pick, I don't know, like a Bailey or a Diaby? I don't know if either of those will play. I don't know, City lineup now. Obviously, they've got Brighton away. That's going to be a pretty open game, I think. So, yeah, I will still stick with Watkins, though. I think I agree with you on that one.
I mean, I think Thursday night to a Sunday is quite a lot for Villa. So I'm not going to say Watkins. I don't massively know where to look. Like, I look at Newcastle with that big turnaround, and someone like Isak is probably where I'd go. Someone like a Muniz suddenly gone off the boil, but home to Liverpool, I don't think that's too bad a punt from a fixture like that. I'll probably say Isak though.
Yeah, really.
Probably for me, it's Foden. They've got an FA Cup game obviously, but Foden at the minute got his rest the other week. Before that, he got his 20-point haul and so on. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in the cup game, but he's someone that if he's fit and ready for that game against Brighton, that he could go big, because Brighton at this time this season have been okay, but some games they've been absolutely terrible. And City now, they're out the Champions League as well. You just expect them to just be playing all their best players. So he's probably the one, I'd say.
I think that is genuinely a fair shout as well. We're very close to all of us previewing our sides heading into the Mammoth Double Game Week 34. But as always, on a weekly instance of Reedy and I, we just give our brief plug to Bonus Bank. Our sponsor, Bonus Bank, has a fantastic free tool to help FPL managers edge their mini leagues on a weekly basis. This tool displays the probabilities of clean sheets for each team and which player is likely to score. It's also useful in determining the defensive picks and consider assets that are likely to score this game to check all the latest stats on the sides, most likely to keep a clean sheet and the asset likely to score. As always, the Bonus Bank link to be on our description. Time to pretty much go through our sides. So I'm going to start with yours, Harry, into Double Game Week 34. this is it. Take it away.
Yeah, so I've currently got Pickford, Ben White, Gabriel, Zabani, Luis Diaz, Son, Salah, Saka, Haaland, Solanke, Mateta. So I've got 2 free transfers. I'm almost certainly going to do Son to Eze. I'll just wait for the press conference in case they mention anything. But that's basically locked in. That leaves me with 1 free transfer, and I'm wildcarding next week, so I may as well use it. And I got a couple of options. If Erling Haaland is a significant doubt, then I'll do Haaland to Darwin. I could still do that, even if Haaland isn't a doubt. The other thing that I could do is do Zabani or do Alfie Doughty to a Liverpool defender in any of Trent, Robertson, Van Dijk, and then just bench Zabani because I don't love their double. So I suppose it comes down to, do I prefer a Liverpool defender and Haaland, or do I prefer Darwin and Zabani? Now, naturally, I'd want to play the doubles, but I think Haaland is a better asset than Zabani, and I don't think there's that much between Van Dijk and a Darwin this week. So let's see what happens with the Haaland or the City press conference if we hear anything there. And then I'll spend some more time trying to predict Liverpool's minutes by putting my finger in the air and guessing it, probably, to try and work out what the best is to do. I'd love to know your thoughts on what I should do with the other transfer. Like, is Haaland to Darwin just the best move? Go triple Liverpool attack? Or do I do Zabani to a Van Dijk? But then if I don't expect many clean sheets from them, like, I could do... The other thing is, that's pretty row. I could do Haaland to Cunha and then Zabani to Van Dijk, but that would be a hit.
Oh, yeah, you probably want to do a hit. I like the Cunha move. I think Darwin's best option usually in general, but triple Liverpool attack in that minefield just feels so much higher risk. But it could come with high reward. Don't get me wrong, Has. So, I don't know. Maybe Haaland out might be the sensible move.
I don't know.
It's tricky, yeah. So Eze's in to double Palace. You're going to already have triple Arsenal, double Liverpool. Chelsea, Palmer on the bench. I think I'm in a similar position, to be fair, having to bench Palmer, and I don't like that at all. But I mean, you're going to play doublers ahead of him. It's a small pool of players that you can go for striker wise, because you've got the two you really need, haven't you? So, yeah. Any thoughts on it, TT? On anyone else, maybe that?
Sorry, just put myself on mute. Yeah, it's really tough because like the midfield slots. I know obviously you're going to be on Wildcard 35, right, Harry? So you've got a free shot this week. But then if you upgrade your Palmer spot to another mid, like who do you even bench out that front line? Like you're never benching Haaland, are you?
Right, I would like it would if I did Palmer to someone, I'd bench Haaland. So
yeah.
What about Isak? What about? I know he's a single game weeker, but we talked about Newcastle. You don't like it, no?
I like him as a pick, and if you've got him, absolutely, I have no issue with playing him. But I don't think I'd buy him this week. Like, I'm not sure I'd use my transfer to go from Haaland to Isak. Just feels a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I'm going to do with my second transfer yet. I don't know what I'm going to do with the second one yet.
Burnt, isn't it? It's getting burnt.
it's definitely not. Like, I'll sell if worst comes to the worst, I'll sell a defender and not play Zabani because I hate their double.
Yeah.
But it's whether I think that or selling Haaland is the better use of a transfer.
If I was you, Harry, I'd punt the attacker.
You sell Haaland?
Yeah. I just don't think the clean sheets are going to be there.
Would you go Darwin or would you go Cunha?
I think I'd go Darwin.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
For selling Haaland.
Selling Haaland for Darwin and Haaland's going to outscore Darwin is disgusting.
It's horrible.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the issue.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one, but yeah, definitely Eze, right? You're 100% on that one.
That's a great answer, yeah.
He'll be so highly owned. Like you say, it's a nice punt, and I know the actual ownership isn't that high, but I've not seen anyone on Twitter who's not going to own Eze this week.
I mean, people are thinking about captaining him. So you add that in as well. Going against that is not going to be good.
We'll leave the captain for the captaincy chat, but I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on captaincy this week because that Liverpool, that Salah's just not on it.
No,
just not at it.
Does he get a pen in each game though? You know, somehow fluky pens like Saka. Do you go for him instead? Like, it's not great for captaincy this week. I'm not gonna lie. McBurney, you've not considered him, Harry? No, I can't believe he's been overlooked. This is ridiculous. What are we even doing if we're not mentioning Ollie McBurney? Like, right? But no, seriously, don't go for McBurney, guys.
We haven't mentioned any Sheffield United players. Actually, we haven't mentioned Ben, Barrett, and Diaz once.
No,
What a man.
that is true. Yeah.
That is probably the only player that is probably worth a mention. 4 goals since you signed for them. Burnley at home, United away. There are worse punts.
I think that United game is going to be open as well. Like, you think United will go for it, but I think Sheffield could do something.
The only thing you're forgetting about that is you are picking a player from the worst team in the league, and like you're like, oh, he's got Burnley at home, but you're also like, but Burnley are better than them. And Burnley, like Sheffield United, might think they can. Like Burnley actually can, if they win this game, get out the drop. Like Sheffield United can't, right? So,
I mean, at this point, Sheffield have nothing to lose. In my head, I feel like what would they not do other than go all guns blazing? I actually really like the pun.
They're not thinking about your FPL team when they line up at the weekend.
I know. I think
there is
one.
They've had enough
as well. Do we know?
I just can't. I'm sure it would be McBurney. Like,
It is. Yeah.
He's on loan as well, right?
Yeah.
So they also have a little bit of. They don't owe him anything to give him pens.
Yeah.
I think it'll be McBurney. So.
Onto your free hit team, TT. I'll bring that up here and where you're at the moment. Obviously for game week 34, bud. I know you've mentioned a few players, and obviously we've discussed about which doublers to go for. This is how you set up at the minute. Pretty happy at the moment with what you've got.
Yeah, maybe I'll just read it out quickly. So Pickford in goal, Robertson, Gabriel, Munoz, Salah cap at the moment, Luis Diaz, Saka, Havertz, Eze, Solanke, and Mateta. So pretty template free hit, to be honest. Nothing too crazy there. Obviously, the 3 Liverpool, 3 Arsenal, 3 Palace, and then I think Solanke is pretty much a no-brainer pick. I'm not thinking about taking that on with the free hit. And then Pickford kind of seems like the best out of a bad bunch for the keeper spot. Maybe just the players I'm definitely confident on, like Gabriel, Saka, Eze, Mateta, and Solanke and Salah. I think those spots are pretty much there. The thing is, when you kind of move around one of the players from Arsenal, Liverpool, that just completely changes the kind of setup you end up going for. If you end up going for like a double Liverpool defense, for example, then you're looking at the likes of a Diaz or an Elise in midfield, right? And then you could then mix around the keeper spot. So I think it's more Liverpool where I'm not settled. Robertson, now we've kind of spoke about it more, he could very easily just be rested for Tsimikas in one of these games. I didn't like that he played. Did he play 80 minutes yesterday, Robertson?
Yeah, I think he played the whole game.
I think he played 90.
Or he played the whole game, yeah.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
Let me have a look.
So
I think he played 90.
Oh, you didn't think he played 90, Harry?
No, he came off.
He came off.
Yeah. He came off for Dan's, that's what it was. And that's why I was confused, because it was like...
He played 80. He played 80.
He played 80, right? Okay.
80
So,
minutes.
I mean, that's good he's showing his fitness. Like, obviously, he's come back from injury fairly recently, but he's shown a bit of form, I think. He's looked good since he's come back. But again, do we think, given all these games coming up are all away games, albeit Everton's just a walk across the road, like, do we think he's gonna play both? I'm not as confident now, so that might just end up as the Van Dijk pick. I agree now also. So I was on Saka Havertz, like at the double attack. I think I'm just going to punt that.
Yeah.
Munoz, I'm thinking about again now. I'm not really confident.
I was going to ask, if Nori is fit, would you play him? And then you could go like Henderson in goal and not bother with Pickford.
Yeah, because Nori is playing front 3. Like, that's obviously...
If Hwang Yi-chan starts, he might not.
Yeah, he might not. If Hwang plays, he might not. Because purely just looking at clean sheets, right?
Yeah.
I'm not. Arsenal don't fancy it at all. I think Bournemouth are a good enough attack. I've backed them to score in that too. So I looked at the fixtures and was like, probably not clean sheets there, but he's obviously got the attacking potential. But yeah, Munoz I've got in because I really like that West Ham game. I know people have said Mitchell's numbers are actually better for the last few, but I think Munoz is more likely to get a goal, I think, out of the two. So I think it's worth a punt, but I'm not necessarily confident about Palace. They're just kind of there because they've got the 2 home games and there's not really many other places to go, to be honest. But other than that, I think I'm pretty settled. Like, as the one I might punt is Gerbic for Sheffield United. That's the only one I'm very tempted just for that Sheffield at home game, and then just for Burnley at home, and then just see if he gets loads of save points in the United game. But
I don't hate it. I probably prefer it to Pickford.
Do you see what I mean? It's Liverpool. I'm not seeing the clean sheet there at all.
No.
Forest, I think they're a pretty decent attack as well. So keepers, if we're not seeing this much in it, why not?
Yeah, you did mention about at the beginning, maybe, or when you first come on, TT, about Henderson, or you mentioned about Palace defense anyway. And is there an argument that you could, like, I know he's not great, but it is 2 home fixtures. I know you preferred that Palace had that. Could you pick him and then, as Harry said, play Aït-Nouri if he's starting?
Well, the big change I would make is I would go, if I don't feel confident in Luis Diaz minutes, I would then switch that position to Alisson. I'd put Ben Brereton Diaz in or Elise in, and then go that way. Yeah.
Has Odegaard not sort of been a consideration at any point?
Yeah, it definitely has, mate. I think because he was flagged earlier in the week, I was kind of like, maybe we'll see on that one. But then he played the full 90 against Bayern. So that, I think, obviously has cleared that up. Like, clearly he's fit.
Yeah.
It's purely just because Havertz, I think, is getting the big chances. I trust him more. Well, I say I trust him more. I think he's got better potential to get the goal. But Odegaard is a bonus monster, and he's just very consistent. So again, that option is always there. But what do you guys think in general? Like, I know this is a pretty template team, but is there anything?
I'll say 1 point TT. I'll be short and sharp. I can say, great side. I love Andy Robertson pick. I really do. Yeah, overall, really good side. Triple Palace. I like it. And gone for the double Liverpool, double Arsenal. I think that's sufficient enough for a double such as this. I like Pickford in goal too. And Solanke, Harry's favourite.
Yeah, what a guy.
What that?
What a guy. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I would probably do something not to pick Jordan Pickford. But apart from that, I'm not sure I'd change it. And you probably won't know what to do with that spot until you know if Aït-Nouri's fit. But yeah, I like it. It's probably one spot I don't like.
Yeah.
But none of the keepers are good, right?
No one's screaming pick me, are they? So
no, and like you're not going Alisson, you're not going Raya. So like, where are you realistically expecting a clean sheet from? Yeah.
So, all right, Reedy, have you got your side, or do you want me to show mine? I'm happy to.
Yeah, go for yours first, mate. Yeah, if you're there.
Before I show it, Harry's not going to like it, only for one reason. It's not full of 11 doublers.
Nice.
There's one single game week player who's in it, and that is Ollie Watkins.
I'm out. I'm going home.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, Pickford in goal. Virgil, Gabriel, safe options. I like him in shout. I don't know. Wait, that's definitely not how to pronounce his name. I thoroughly apologise. Eze, Havertz, Salah, Saka. I'm putting Cunha on the field. I fancy his chances, especially in this second game at home to Bournemouth. Solanke's been there since the Forest game on Christmas Eve, for one that Harry loves, and so did I. And yeah, Watkins, I just feel like one last dance, having owned him for 30 game weeks before he got injured. Diaz made the bench, and so did Aït-Nouri, who's flagged. Mikolenko's there because why not? But Henderson's also there too. There's a few question marks on the selection, so I'd like to get everyone's input.
Very different team to TT, put it that way, right? First thing you can notice. Yeah, I mean, going for Watkins, I know you and TT mentioned about a bit scared of what he can do this week as a single game weeker. Going for the safe pick in Virgil. You've only gone 2 Liverpool, obviously, as you were saying. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just a few picks different from TT's, but I don't mind it. Brereton Diaz in there as well.
Oh, for a while, yeah, because one.
That's my take on it.
Get him in the 11, mate. Get him in the 11.
Yeah, it's like, what's the point of picking him if you just put him on the bench?
That's fair.
Watkins out, Diaz in.
Watkins out, 3-5-2.
Okay.
Have the excitement of having Watkins, but put him on the bench and then play Ben Brereton Diaz.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, sure. I'll certainly consider it. This Diaz hype has been good the last 5 minutes.
I really like the Cunha pick, Chaz. I think that's one people aren't going to be looking at too much on free hit. And I completely agree with you. That Bournemouth home game could be really fruitful. Like, you might get something out of that. I mean, just as easily like the Arsenal game as well. Like, I think Wolves really kind of, this is something to consider, but I think they do step it up a little bit against the bigger teams. And especially at home, like, who knows? Like, they might turn up for that one. The only thing I would consider, because I know obviously you're not on the Liverpool triple up. Like, is there an argument just to go Alisson as your keeper?
That's a good.
If that's what you're worried about,
Yeah.
I think Alisson would naturally just be a better pick than Pickford if you've got that third Liverpool spot open. He's better for bonus.
Yeah.
He actually does make saves because Liverpool can't defend, so you might get something out of that. That's the only thing I would say. But otherwise, I would agree with you, mate. Yeah.
I like that. Thank you. All right. As for feedback, just fantastic as always. And I think I just need to get it off the screen as soon as possible because Harry just goes, no 11 doublers. Reedy side, go.
Yeah, I mean, my side, it's a bit good, bit bad. I mean, look at
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Yeah, exactly. Double Bournemouth defence. They have doubles, but yeah, they're tough doubles. Gabriel, which so many people have anyway. A little bit of Reggie love. Wonder Boy lately has proved to be quite something. Although he did screw everyone over and gave it 29. I
was going to say, you're going for another -3 there.
Yeah. He's forgiven by now. He's forgiven. He's got a 9-pointer and an 8-pointer for me. So I'm like, I feel like given that Van de Ven misses this week, Gusto has Arsenal, he has to get a spot in the team. And then, just kind of like the standard guys in midfield. I mean, Gordon, I'm happy to have him, but I know TT, that his away form isn't as good as what it is at St. James's Park. So that's the only thing. Whenever I've owned Gordon and he's away, he's just been rubbish for me. But I'm hoping that's not the case this week. And then, Son Blanks, got Haaland. Pretty much picks itself, this team. There's no one on the bench that you'd obviously put on instead, I don't think, right? And then, Keller has lost his spot, so Neto has to play. That's me for this week. 2 frees. Still don't know what to do. But it'll be either Morris or Son or both, or a -4. That's a lot to kind of consider, but
So have you thought about I know obviously we've talked about it earlier, really, but one of the transfers you're thinking, Morris, to a doubler striker, right? Like a Mateta or
yeah, I am thinking of just maybe do that move and then carry Son over next week, so I don't have to bring Son back in. And have planned it in a way whereby I roll a transfer each week up until 37 because I'm going to use the bench boost then. So the idea is maybe just do that rather than take it now to bring players in that don't play later on. Well, have a double later on to minimize the hits. And then 37, I can maybe take a -4 to get like a full 11 of doublers and so on, which would be more justified. But that temptation is obviously there because it's a double game week this week. And I'm like, do I just take a -4 because it's a double? And I mean, everyone always says if it's a double game week, it's not justified as such, but maybe not as bad taking a hit in that sort of from that point of view. But we will see. We shall see.
We shall see indeed. Now, before we go to the breaking news that has just come out of Everton that Harry will reveal. We're just
although it's not news. It's not news. Patterson, the right back, has been ruled out for the rest of the season.
Pick it up, your team.
Is that what it is?
I thought it. I saw it, and I thought it was because the only injury I remember from Monday night that we were waiting on news for was Branthwaite, and I'm sure I saw someone share it saying it was Branthwaite. So I was like, "Oh, that's really big. That's good. Don't pick Pickford." And then it was Patterson. So you can ignore me.
Still breaking news. Still breaking news.
Still breaking news.
Everton, breaking news, Everton are still crap.
Everton's backup right back is out for the season.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but standout comments that I've just had a look at. Now, any news on Aiton Nori, or is it just more waiting on the press conference? Briefly, whoever would like to answer, do you see him starting both games?
He's come back from an injury. Is it likely? Depends, doesn't it? How far he is in terms of being fully fit and so on. The press is not till later today. I think 1:30 is it for Wolves? Yeah. So we'll know more. But I think obviously if you've got him and you're not on a free hit, you might have to be a little bit more cautious. But free hitters will have the upper hand in what news we get, whether to pick him or not. Yeah. I guess that's it, really.
Fair. Got a question here. So, hi guys, would you buy Virgil van Dijk or Robertson for a -4 to bench Zabarnyo, or would you still field Zabarnyo regardless?
Buying defenders for a hit, I'm not the most keen, but it's a fair shout because Zabarnyo's very likely to concede them both. So, are you really going to gain anything by playing him? Probably not a lot. Do you think there's a Van Dijk bullet header in there or a Robertson attacking return? I guess is what you got to weigh up. But personally, I probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah, probably agree. Don't think there's more on that one.
No.
Eze or Diaz?
Eze.
Eze.
Yeah.
All day. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yes.
Single game week. Sorry, I didn't mean to butt in there, Brady. I apologise. Manchester United assets at home to Sheffield United. There was an Onana I saw on the bench. Any love for their midfielders or not? Because Bruno's in form at the moment.
You spent this whole pod trying to convince me to advocate a single game week player, and it's not going to happen. I saw TT's Onana on the bench, and I almost fell for it.
I don't even know why I've done that.
Yeah, what are you doing?
I saw that as well. I just like, okay.
We let that go. You've just done that to trigger us.
I know.
I just wouldn't pick Bruno. Like I'd pick a extra Palace mid or like triple Palace, triple Liverpool, triple Arsenal, Solanke, and one more. For me, like I just wouldn't have space in it. If you've got no chips left, I think he's quite a good buy this week. But yeah,
there you go. Before I get to captaincies, and there are 4 options, plenty of key points on each one. I'll go straight through. I'm not sure where Reedy has gone there. Before I get to captaincy, I just want to say massive thank you to those that are tuned in, and thank you for the comments as well. Unfortunately, we haven't got time to go through any more sort of genuine ones, but keep them coming through, because if there's a good one, we may display it on board because Reedy's out. I'm just going to go straight into captaincy. It usually be captain's corner, or I'd usually have a song, but I'm happy to just go straight through the points and happy to have a discussion with you both. I know Colin Bugler won't like it because he's expecting a rendition of some sort of artist on a weekly basis, but I haven't done it for about 30 weeks. So I'm sorry, Colin. But the first option is Mo Salah, as you said, 2 away fixtures. His record against Fulham isn't too bad. 4 goals and an assist in his 7 appearances. He also, there you go, big screen time. Here we go. In addition, the Egyptian scored a brace at home to Everton early in the season. Salah scored a penalty against Atalanta last night. He's also top for big chances per 90 with 2. Shots inside the box per 90 with 4.91. And top for expected assists with 0.38 per 90 across all players in the competition. However, as mentioned earlier, Fulham haven't been as bad against some of the top sides at home. They've defeated Arsenal, they've defeated Tottenham, and they also won away at Old Trafford. Bukayo Saka's the other plan B a lot of people have been considering. He has scored in his last 5 away games. Arsenal have scored in, which has consisted of 6 goals and 2 assists. He has returned against both sides early in the season, which produced a total of 13 points with a goal and an assist. He is the highest scoring midfielder in the game, despite his slump in form, with 193 points. That is also complemented by 7 double-digit hauls. Ebridge Eze, I know, here we go. A bit of love for Crystal Palace. That's what we just want to see. 3 returns in the last 6 game weeks. Eze's 11 shots, 11 key passes, and 8 shots in the box. So amongst the top 5 midfielders who do have a double game week. In addition to the opponents he is facing, West Ham have the third highest expected goals conceded this season with 61.5. Newcastle with the seventh highest with 54.5. Last one, some are starting him, some are benching him, some are free hitting him out. I know, one of Harry's favourite. He saw him on Monday night. Cole Palmer away at Arsenal. He recorded his highest points haul this season with 26 points at home to Everton. In addition, despite having got registered his first return in game week 7, he is the equal highest fantasy point scorer alongside Ollie Watkins with 208 this season. That has consisted of 20 goals and 10 assists in his 24 appearances. In addition, he scored in the reverse fixture against Arsenal earlier in the season. That is all for Captain's Corner. May all your arrows be green and hopefully double the fun. Bring it back now to the panel that we have. I think it's worthy of a time now. Briefly to you guys. Harry, who is your armband on? Are you convinced by Salah or is it someone else? Is Eze just tickled the pickle bet?
I'm not convinced by anyone, actually. Like, it's on Salah as a sort of just like default. If you want to convince me to captain someone else, go for it. But I don't like any of them. So as a default, I'll go to Salah, who in theory has the 2 easier games. Like that Everton defense is particularly without Nathan Patterson being there as well. That's a big loss for them. I'm going to go Salah. I think.
TT.
I have been tempted, but I would completely agree with Harry. No one's really saying captain me either. I'm tempted by Arsenal because I think their fixtures on paper, from an attacking perspective, are actually very good. And there could be goals in that game for sure. But again, it's just Salah's just naturally, he's just always the default. I know he's not looked that great, but yeah, it's probably going to be Salah for me. And now I know Patterson's out for the season. That's given me the certainty that I can do it.
Oh, for a second, I thought it was Braithwaite. I just fell for Harry's prank again. Oh. Brady, welcome back.
Hi, mate. Sorry, Amazon called. So had to jump out, sir. But yeah, great Captain's Corner segment, mate. And I think it's fair to say we're all literally stumped on what captain to pick this week. It just is just a bit meh. And normally, like, what the go-to is Haaland. But I feel like this week we just want to pick a doubler. Salah for me as well, by the way, just to go for that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think Salah as well. We're just about to wrap it up. Before we do, Brady, I don't think I've missed anything because sometimes I do. I've watched our episodes too early in the season. I haven't missed anything, have I?
No, mate, I don't think so. I think you're good. Mate.
Awesome. Before I say thank you, once again, thank you to Rose. And we have managed, and a massive thank you to Harry for spreading the word for tonight's episode, along with Tita. We've managed to get 2,900 people to watch this live, which is actually not bad. It's certainly a record for this page. So a massive thank you to you both as well. And for everyone that has always shown the support, as well as Harry for finding the podcast a few weeks back too. So thank you. And TT, thank you to you for coming on once again.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. It's been good. It's been good fun.
Yeah, that's all right. Brady, as always, just thank you to you for just deciding to show up every week. I appreciate it.
It's all right. I do what I can. You know what I mean? Like, just make sure I can and support. You because I know this season, obviously, we've normally probably got another couple of people that we have who do the podcast, but due to other commitments and stuff, I'd say it's one of those whereby you've carried it a little bit, Chazza. So fair play to you, mate. If anything, it's the love all goes to you, and I kind of chip in as much as I physically can. So yeah, I love talking about this every week. Football in general, and obviously FPL is huge still. It continues to grow, and every year it's going to be harder next season, probably. I guess with what we've said about there not being doubles or blanks and stuff. So long may it continue that we just suffer playing this game, and hopefully there's a lot more highs than there is lows. So yeah, thank you, mate.
Awesome. No, you're welcome. All good to everyone out there. May your arrows be green, and more importantly, the last thing I say at the end of every episode: eat shit, Jack. Catch you later.